Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
Out of nowhere, Doug just sends me a message. Onimusha's great.
It is.
I was really confused because Onimusha is great, but you went back and I think it was on sale. It's always on sale. Onimusha Warlords.
Any of these weird random reviews we're doing, it's always because there's a sale.
100%. Onimusha Warlords, which is the original Onimusha. It got a port to the Switch and the PS4 and everything. I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was a while ago at this point. So it's kind of that like it got the port and everyone was like, "Oh shit, we're bringing Onimusha back." And now it's been sitting there. It's been sitting there long enough that we're all like, "Oh, you're not."
Yeah.
But anyway,
exactly.
You jump back to this. This is a game that I know for me, I played as a kid, and I played 1 through 3 and absolutely loved them. I don't remember much. I don't feel like 1 especially would hold up, but I'm curious to know. You just replayed this. Let's talk about Onimusha 1.
Yeah. No, I was in the same spot. Like I played this when I was in high school. The whole series, I really liked it. Onimusha 3 was the one I remember. Like, this is a little silly. But I think now I'd actually probably really enjoy Onimusha 3 because it is a little silly because half of it's set in Paris in modern day with that one French actor. It's a whole thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I really like the series. I don't know why I got it. I think I just like wanted something simple and I don't know.
I kind of had the same feeling lately where it's just give me something simple, basic, quick, and easy.
Yeah, especially because I was playing like Baldur's Gate 3 and I was like playing a little bit of Cyberpunk. It's like I just want something that's just like, well, I wasn't expecting it to be that bare bones, but like the bare bonesness of Onimusha, I really, really enjoyed. But yeah, no, I really, really like this game. It's probably fueled a lot by nostalgia. Like, so I definitely can't tell how much it is. But like, it was funny because it's only I beat it in 3.5 hours, and that was not like me speedrunning or anything like that. It was just me playing the game. I beat it in 3.5 hours. There's a secondary character you play as that was not really fun. There was points at the game that was like kind of annoying. I was like, well, if it's 3.5 hours, is that like an hour of the game I didn't like? but I really enjoyed it overall. It's like a hard game, I think, to recommend to people. If you've never heard of Onimusha, if you've never seen Onimusha before, just like coming into the blue on this one would be like a little bit tough. It would be kind of a tough pill to swallow.
So give me because I'm trying to remember because it's been 20 years. This is like old school Resident Evil looking thing, right? With your fixed camera, all that running through feudal Japan with monsters, correct?
It is like quite literally Resident Evil, It's Resident Evil in so many weird ways that I was like kind of not expecting because when I played Onimusha, I was not allowed to play Resident Evil growing up, so I never actually played Resident Evil before that, like back then. But it is like quite literally like the first Resident Evil, like Resident Evil 1, 2-ish kind of game. But also with like secret laboratories and people doing experiments and stuff. They just happen to be demons and you're a samurai. But it is like so the game is it's not really survival horror, it's more an action game, but it definitely has that sort of survival horror gameplay elements where it's a lot of fixed camera angles, pre-rendered backgrounds, which still look pretty good these days, and you're kind of going through an area killing horrifying, instead of zombies, they're zombie and sort of like those like Japanese monsters, so you're fighting like a lot of onis and that kind of thing. I think the thing that still feels like pretty unique about it, besides the control scheme, which feels like classic Resident Evil games, is that it's like a survival. It's when I think of like modern day samurai games, I'm thinking like Sekiro and like Nioh. And they aren't really horror games. I mean, they're like a little spooky, but this is like just straight up kind of a survival horror game with the wrapping of a samurai thing, which made it feel really, really unique. Because I was thinking, there's some games you go back and play, it's like, oh well, this new version of this is just so much better, and like whatever the new game is. But I just feel like that sort of fixed camera angle, the combat isn't like super good. It's like a little clunky, but that's good for survival horror stuff. And that kind of like horror angle to it made it feel really, really unique. And I think that's kind of thing that's like really pulling me through. It's just like, oh, this still feels interesting and unique today because there's nothing that you can immediately compare it to, even though Neo seems like the easy thing to compare it to. It's just like, no, it's just a different type of game entirely.
So combat wise, because again, I'm going off of 20 years in my brain here.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was a half step like below Devil May Cry in terms of like speed. But now that you're talking about it, I'm feeling like we're like a half step above Resident Evil in terms of speed.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so if like Devil May Cry 1 is like the half step above it, it's like 10 steps below anything sort of modern day like Devil May Cry or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, you have like a basic attack, just like you hit square 5 times and he doesn't attack, swipe, swipe, swipe. And then when the enemy's on the ground, you can walk over them and stab them. And like, that's kind of it. But like, I'm kind of tired of deep combat systems, if that makes sense, because it's like,
it's nice to go back to just being able to push the buttons a few times and just kind of shut off my brain and just relax and enjoy something.
Yeah, and it's more like, because I feel like the deep combat system, it's like, oh, it's going to take like an hour or two before you really get the hang of this, before you can actually start like exploring the combat. And this one, it's like 10 minutes in and like, okay, I got it.
Done. That's it. That's where we're at. Cool. Moving on.
And
all right, let's have some fun.
And then you get like weapons throughout the game, but the weapons are just different samurai swords that kind of basically do the same thing. Like one's like a slightly heavier one, and there's one that's like a little bit different, but they all kind of feel the same. And then you can't modify them in any way, shape, or form. You level them up like level 1, 2, 3. Nothing changed about them is that they get like a little bit stronger, so it takes a little bit less swipes to kill an enemy. But just something about the simplicity of it was like so refreshing. It just felt like a game. Like in the 3.5 hours, I basically 100%ed it. Because there's like this optional sort of like dungeon thing you can do. And like, I always wanted to beat that as a kid. I was like, it's way too hard. And I was like, oh no, I can beat that area now. But I really liked how simple it was. I think there is something that I don't even know if I'm nostalgic before, but I think it just looks better. Like PS2 era models, I think look really, really, really good to me personally, because modern games require no imagination on the part of the player. The models are like so detailed. You're not filling in any details like at all.
It's just, so this was what it is.
It is what exactly like it looks. Yep, that tree looks exactly like a tree. That zombie looks about as good as a zombie could ever look. But the thing I like about kind of PS2 and PS1 and earlier games is like you kind of have to fill in like a little bit. So when you see like a guy kind of like cut in half and it's like a little bit blurry and stuff, you're imagining it being grosser than it is, or that zombie you're fighting, it's like you're imagining it being grosser. So it's kind of fun going back to that. And the enemy designs are so strong in this. Like every enemy just looks cool, like still looks cool. Which I really appreciated. I mean, they're and like each one has like a very like strict purpose. There is like your main sort of zombie guy who's like, he does like a sword slash thing, but there's not like 10 different versions of that one guy. No, it's like, no, it's just that one guy. And then there's like a long range version of that guy. The thing I always hate in like bigger games, there's like your foot soldier, and there's like 10 different kind of variations of foot soldiers.
Foot soldier with big sword, foot soldier with small sword, foot soldier with spear, foot soldier with funny hat.
Yes, exactly. And like because the game is so short, you just like can't do that. So there's just like 10 different enemies, and they're all very different in how they fight. And it's just like, I don't know, it just kind of cuts the bullshit of a lot of stuff, which I really liked. So it just felt so, it was funny after it was over, even like the 3.5 hours, I was like, I fought the final boss, I beat the final boss, and I was like, yep, that's exactly what I wanted. I wasn't like, oh, I wish this was 5 more hours longer. I was like, oh no, that was like just the perfect little length of a game. It was the type of game you could rent over a weekend and then beat. And that just like doesn't exist anymore. And it felt like, even though there's like problems I had with like the controls aren't great, there's like a secondary character you play as it's like not great, but I don't know. I think just the I don't know. It's like it feels so different because of how pared down it is. And the thing that's really funny, thinking back on it, that was actually like one of those huge jumps in technology games too of the time, because a lot of it is a lot of it's motion captured animation. So like every single thing in that game is motion captured animation. So it's like, it's kind of funny looking back now. It's like how simple it is now, because back then this was not a quote unquote simple game. This was like breaking, like, ahead of the thing. But it's also like I think it's also like a PS2 launch title. So this was like, I think this is pre Devil May Cry, because it's
It'd have to be because they managed to knock out 3 of them all on the PS2. 4 of them. I think did 4 come out on the PS2?
Yeah. We don't talk about the fourth one. The fourth one is,
I never made it before, so.
Funny thing about the fourth one. So actually, I remember playing it as a kid, and it's like 3 times as long as the other ones, and you have like 4 different playable characters.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of filler, and that's just what's not good about it.
That's not what we don't want. We don't want that. No, thank you.
And this one's cool because it's all in one area too, which is kind of, I always love that stuff. I think it's like, that's a type of gameplay that you don't really see anymore, except for the Resident Evil 2 remake, where it's all in a single facility that you really get to know. And I always love that stuff too. So there's just there's a lot of cool stuff here.
There's a lot of checking the mixes of us mid 30-year-olds here.
It's funny. It's like, I don't understand why indie games aren't like this. Like, why are indie games like, I think it's I was listening to our Dusk review recently, and the thing I thought was interesting about Dusk is like we can do Quake 1 better than Quake 1 did. I was like, yeah, just do a better Onimusha. Don't do a better Baldur's Gate 3 or a better Devil May Cry 5 or a better whatever. It's like you could just make a really good Onimusha game. I mean, you guys could do it. Like I could see like
there are dozens of teams out there that could make that game. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like or like a good Jumping Flash or a good Ape Escape. Like I don't know. It just feels like this. It still feels really unique because there just aren't games like this anymore. And I think that's kind of what, like, at the end of all this, like, it was fun. It played okay, but it just felt super unique and still pretty fun to play through. No idea
Absolutely.
if a kid who was 14 would like this.
Not our audience. Not our audience.
No,
anyway.
No, that's, yeah.
We are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. You can support us on Coffee, the link below. And we'll see you later.
Bye.